I'm afraid I'm going to get in so much trouble for making this episode being a bad influence on young, impressionable minds, because I'm going to talk about how, when, why, and if to practice in front of the TV. I'm such a bad influence. Don't worry, there is a coaster right there under my drink. You definitely want to think of this as a practice technique for special occasions. We've talked about good practice habits before, especially in episode 1 of Flute Tube. So first of all, get those habits down solid, and then you can think about doing special, advanced techniques like practicing in front of the TV. Let's just put this somewhere else. I'm not trying to influence your beverage or your television purchase choices. Nobody is sponsoring me here for this one. School did just get out for the summer at my university, so it's possible that I find myself being tempted into telling you to make some bad choices, but honestly, I don't think so, because I've had a number of great colleagues tell me that they get some of their very best practice done in front of the TV. And I do honestly myself get a lot of useful things done with my practice in front of the TV. But it's a very specialized practice technique. It's not intended to replace any of the time that you would spend otherwise in your practice room. If you find yourself practicing regularly all the time in front of the TV, that is bad and you must repent immediately. But if you can use it with goals, you want to have goals for practice in front of the television, just as you want goals for any practice you do. If you can set and meet those goals, this kind of practice can be very useful. I'm going to tell you 3 categories of times that I could think of myself when practicing in front of the TV can be very helpful. Number 1, big category of time that you can really benefit from practicing in front of the TV is if you simply need to train muscle memory. This can be very tedious to do in a practice room. It can take a lot of time, and frankly, if you get over-focused on it and you're really hammering trying to get this muscle memory, it can cause you to tense up and overthink. So if you're learning something new and you simply have to get it embedded in your muscle memory, it can be really helpful to do in front of the TV. For instance, if you're learning a lot of new fingerings. Now, if you're a pretty new flutist and maybe you're struggling with some of the high fingerings that are much less intuitive than lower register fingerings, maybe you want to go up and down from high A to high D chromatically and just let those fingerings live in your fingers so that they become more and more automatic and less something that you have to think through each and every time that you see those new high notes. I hope it's obvious. I already know those fingerings myself, but I'm often learning pieces with extended techniques, and they may have very unusual fingerings that I've never seen before. Perhaps it's a piece with a lot of quarter tones, and you have to learn all the different fingerings, half-holing different keys, adding different strange fingers that you're not used to adding for various pitches. It may also not just be finger muscle memory, it may be your embouchure if you need to get used to doing a multiphonic and instantly get all of the pitches to speak, even though normally you never blow that way. Or perhaps you're playing a piece that instructs you to play with an unfocused tone. And a lot of flutists, because we've worked so hard to focus our tone, we just can't convince our muscles to give us an unfocused tone. Live with it for a lot more long, extended, relaxed period of time than if you're sitting endlessly in your practice room. If you feel skeptical, first of all, good for you, because we don't want you to abuse this time in front of the TV. But also remember that music is a language. We need to become fluent in it, just as we become fluent in speech. We need to come to a point where what we're playing, we don't even have to think about consciously. We rely on our subconscious to remember what we're supposed to do so that we can free up our mind to be musical and expressive and convey what we intend with these techniques instead of being absorbed in just still trying to remember how to do them. So if you have unusual fingerings, unusual tone, articulation, how you're supposed to blow, maybe even how you're supposed to do vibrato, these are all things that may be requested, especially in more recent music, and living with these ideas when we're in a situation that's more relaxed outside of the practice room will help us to let them settle in and become second nature in a way that's much more difficult if you're just putting them under the intense spotlight time of your normal practice room hours and not approaching them in any other way. But there are plenty of standard techniques that also benefit from just living with them outside of your practice room. If you're trying to coax your intonation into a better place, maybe you want to play a lot of C sharps in the staff and find exactly where it's in tune. Put your tuner there in front of the TV, watch the needle, see how it feels in your muscles, and then take a little break and then do it again. You can get a lot more time that's low pressure, easy, good learning time doing it this way than sitting in your practice room and just hammering it. Let's move on and talk about scenario number 2, where it might be really useful to practice with the TV on. For me, this is when you're getting close to the time to perform something and you've been focusing in your practice room really well. And the point of being in a practice room is really to shut out the outside world and concentrate on the task at hand. But when you're in a concert hall performing, whether you like it or not, there's a great chance that you're going to have several distractions around you. There might be noise outside the concert hall, maybe a noisy siren or a sudden thunderstorm. It happens fairly often that we run into screaming children in the concert hall or other people making noise that distracts both the audience and you up on stage as well. So performing in front of the TV as a prelude to going and performing in the concert hall is really a way to open the door to distractions. I even like to turn on a program that I know I'll be tempted to watch. Like for me, it's often the news. I know I'm going to want to pay some attention to what's going on. And if I let part of my brain do that, that's a great distraction to see if I can still perform really well while my brain is occupied with other things. Obviously, this is not something to do every day, but I know that if I can successfully make it through a performance with the television on distracting me, then once I turn it off, I'll be that much stronger and more capable and confident that I will be able to get through any performance, no matter what happens, no matter what the distractions are. It's a type of safety margin if you want to go back and look at that episode and remind yourself what a safety margin is. Let's go on to practicing in front of the TV scenario number 3, which is to work on memory. I think all concert musicians have to come to the point sooner or later where they realize that most of your memory work is going to happen away from your instrument. We get so much help from our normal routine, our practice space, and even our muscle memory that it's very helpful to get away from all of those things. So I may be watching the TV with my flute in my hands, going over my memory work and moving my fingers on my flute. But more likely, I've put my flute away, I've come and I've sat in front of the TV, I've turned it on, and I'm thinking through my piece in my head, not even moving my fingers, but just making sure that my brain can get me through that piece. When I'm away from my flute, away from the music, I'm not listening to any recordings. Most of my brain is distracted by the television, and if I can still get through that piece in my mind, I know that I have it memorized very solidly. You can never know that your memory is this solid unless you get your instrument out of your hands and you distract yourself. It doesn't have to be that you're distracted by the television. I first started to realize how helpful this was when I was doing competitions growing up. I would put my flute away, I might go out with some friends, but in my head I was still thinking, I've got to get ready, I've got to nail this competition. So I would be carrying on conversations, we'd be going to a restaurant, and I would be thinking through these pieces in my mind. It really helped me to find weaknesses. Maybe there was a phrase that I would think, I'm not sure if that's an F natural or an F sharp. and I would have to come home and look it up, and then I would have in mind, okay, I know for sure that right there, that is an F natural. And so it solidified things for me in ways that otherwise I never would have experienced. Even if you're morally opposed to turning on the TV, you never watch TV, this is a very important step to do in the process of memory work somehow. Whether it's in front of the TV, whether it's at a dinner table with a bunch of other people, whether you're taking a plane ride somewhere or a train across the country, you want to distract yourself enough that you can really delve into how deeply you have your music memorized and not rely on visual cues, not even rely on hearing the music around you or hearing the music come out of your own instrument. So go ahead and take that bold step of practicing in front of the TV. But remember that even in front of the TV, you need to have specific goals as to why you're practicing in front of the TV. This is an advanced technique. It's not intended to take over any of your practice hours. It's intended to supplement the hours that you're going to continue to spend in your practice room. And definitely be sure that it does not become your default to practice in front of the TV. It's a special exception to accomplish specific goals. What about you? Are there other times that you've found that I haven't mentioned when it's good to practice in front of the TV? Have there been times you've practiced in front of the TV and you realize it's been a really bad idea and you should stop? Leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts about practicing in front of the TV. And if you like the idea of practicing in front of the TV at all, please like this video. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. Show YouTube how much we all enjoy getting together to talk about the flute.